What's going on, guys? It's your main man back on the scene with another video. If you're new to the channel, smash that like button and subscribe. It will be greatly appreciated. I really enjoyed the first two Alien movies, and everything after that was doo-doo, to be YouTube friendly. I mean, the only movies that I rewatch are the first two movies. Everything after that, I have like zero desire to watch them. So this is Alien, what every sequel did wrong. So I scrolled through it. This is a long article. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm just going to read just the beginning here and what went wrong for each movie. That's it. Just keep the time down. In 1979, director Ridley Scott and his talented crew released a seminal sci-fi horror classic that has fascinated multiple generations of fans while introducing them to one of cinema's most enduring and iconic monsters. Alien was a work of art. That's important right here. Art, which no longer applies to Hollywood these days, that capitalized on the gritty, deep space realism of 2001, A Space Odyssey. I guess it's a typo. It should be. They used future aesthetic of 1977 original Star Wars and the classic sci-fi horror films of the 1950s. The final product was an instant classic that updated the sci-fi for the modern age, lending it a sense of authenticity that demanded respect. To this day, the original Alien is a master class of what can be accomplished via a tight script, smart budgeting, and proper casting. By the time the dust had settled, the film grossed nearly $185 million against an $11 million budget. So this is key. Smart, proper cast. That means it's artwork. They cared. That's the difference back then. To put things into perspective, that's just over $750 million versus $53 million budget when adjusted for the modern age. And if you looked at the last few Marvel movies, you see what they spent to make the movies and what they made. You see, this is far more profitable. That's great because you got to make stuff that people like, something original. They don't make original stuff. Everything is remakes now, and that's another problem because there's nothing. You know, we saw that already. There's nothing in the movie theater. You're like, wow. So let's skip to Aliens. This is the first movie. Hot off the success of 1984's Terminator, director James Cameron was quickly becoming a rising star in the Hollywood scene. His notorious attention to detail, make note of that, and reputation as an on-set taskmaster quickly got around. Cameron was a director with a knack for achieving his visions regardless of who suffered in the process. The proof was in the pudding. That's not important. Back and forth regression, blah, blah, blah. Aliens released in 1986 to huge fanfare, turning into arguably the best film in the entire franchise, it was the best film. To me, Aliens is better than the original. This is one of those rare instances where the sequel is better than the original because they cared. Aliens released in 1986 to huge fanfare, turning. Yeah, okay, I read that. Cameron hit all the right notes by honoring Ridley Scott's original. Take note of that. Original. He honored it. He respected the source material while simultaneously creating something entirely fresh and unique. The film felt like a natural evolution of the story as opposed to a radical departure from the source material. So he respected the source material. That's something we fuss about a lot. So let's go. What it did wrong. How does one find fault in their perfect movie? Aliens was brilliant, but it did make one key mistake. Releasing the original theatrical cut in 1986 was somewhat understandable, as any movie beyond 120 minutes was considered excessive. Unfortunately, what ended up on the cutting room floor was pure gold and hurt the overall experience. I will disagree with that because you didn't know what was taken out, so you can't miss what you never had. And people like the movie. It's easy to say that after you watch the director's cut and you saw what they took out, and then you're like, well, they should have had that in the movies. So it's kind of like, armchair quarterbacking. Well, if you'd have done this instead of that, it would be a few years before a Ridley Scott special edition director's cut was released for longtime fans to enjoy. Remarkably, CBS aired Aliens on its network in 1989 with a few extra scenes intact, which was the first time many audiences got to see the cut content. Later, with the advent of DVD and Blu-ray, Cameron's definitive cut became widely available. I don't know if I've seen that yet. I might have to pick that up. Let's skip that. There are a few problems with Alien, but they are minor. For instance, no direct explanation is given to why the Weyland-Yutani Corporation didn't bother investigating the derelict ship on LV 426 in the 57 years building up to Ripley's return, nor does it attempt to explain why the warning beacon that lured the Nostromo to the planetoid in the original film is no longer operational. In fact, there's no 2014's Alien Isolation video game was released that an explanation was finally offered. The video games were good. Like AVP video game was good. The movies, not so much. Alien 3, this was a bad movie. It's a bad movie. Let's get to what it did wrong. I'm not going to read all that. Alien 3 was a victim of massive studio interference. Shock, shock. That's the same thing that ruined Blade 3. These studio execs, they don't know how to stay in their lane, and they destroyed that one. Blade 3 was garbage. And it's dumb, though. Why don't you, stay in your lane, let the creatives do what they do, and get the money? Since you're all about bean counting, let them do their thing and make the money. But that didn't happen. Primarily due to the presence of David Fincher as director. Fincher had not solidified himself as a director extraordinaire, responsible for massive hits like Seven and Fight Club. Here, he was a relative newcomer, thrust into the arduous and demanding process of directing a feature-length film with an iconic pedigree attached to it. Who was the moron who made that decision? something of this nature, I would think that you would get someone on Cameron's level, like a Spielberg or something, not some newcomer. The results were disastrous, and everyone on the set suffered because Fincher was unable to complete his vision, which directly affected the pacing, structure, and plot arcs for Alien 3. The film did manage to make money at the box office, but the brand would forever be tainted. Yeah, this movie stunk, man. Creatively, the story made a huge mistake by, gotta keep YouTube friendly, 187ing Newt and Hicks, 2 centuries. Yeah, I thought that was dumb. And it was depressing. It gave the movie a depressing film. Like, damn, man, they didn't make it. And that stuck with me through the whole movie. It showed a complete disrespect for the lengths Ripley went to save Newt and aliens and threw a potential love interest into the trash, all for the sake of making Ripley the central character. That's basically the same thing that happened in Star Wars. When they brought Palpatine back, that was like everything Luke did and Vader's sacrifice was a waste of time. It meant nothing. Yeah, I'm not going to read through all that. I'm going to skip through. I'll link the video. You guys can read it because this is a long article. Alien Resurrection. This was terrible. And sometimes, you know, you like a franchise so much, and you probably shouldn't go see the movie, but you do it anyway. I'm one of those people. And I got punished for it. Because I shouldn't have went to go see this. I should not have gone to see this. This is a bad one. What it did wrong, Alien Resurrection was placed in the hands of Jean-Pierre Jeunet. I know I'm saying his name wrong. Best known for his oddball film Delicatessen and the City of Lost Children, 1995. From the start, it became clear that Jeunet was wrong for the directorial choice, and the entire film was a marked departure from the rest of the franchise, both in feel and look. Here's the source material problem. You did not respect the source material. That's why it sucks. Ripley's grand return as a hybrid clone. Them and this clone stuff. Alien versus Predator. This is bad. Again, this is another situation where they did not respect the source material. What it did wrong, AVP was guilty of a few glaring missteps. The first which was the decision to stick to a PG-13 rating in an effort to attract a wider audience. By robbing the film of its violence level, it diminished both the xenomorph and the Yacht alike, turning them into second-rate, watered-down, carbon copies of the original thing. And DVD and Blu-ray releases added CGI blood. Oh my God, I haven't seen no releases because I only saw the movie once. These movies were so bad that I never watched them again. And this was dumb. Because all the technology they didn't scan his body to make sure he wasn't infected with something before, you know. This is a spacefaring race. They couldn't x-ray him or something. Alien versus Predator, Requiem. This was another bad movie. This movie had no story whatsoever. It was just violence. Like I guess they tried to make up for the first one. What it did wrong, the decision to return to an unapologetic R rating was smart, But rather than temper it with restraint, the Brothers Strauss directorial team decided to go for broke. The result was an ugly, bleak, nihilistic film that was more interested in selling shock and awe rather than crafting a unique, workable story. Second, the film was much too dark. In fact, it was impossible to digitally alter the film by hand to lighten up many of the scenes. Believe me, I've tried. The night scenes were especially yeah, you couldn't see anything in that movie. I remember that. That was another thing I didn't like about it. You couldn't see anything. Bad. Prometheus. This was terrible. What it did wrong. Prometheus committed a cardinal sin of trying to explain a mystery that should have remained one. Ridley Scott undoubtedly had high hopes for exploring the origins of the engineer race, but the end was a huge letdown. Well, I don't have a problem with that, and maybe it's better not. I think they don't have to try to explain everything. They've gotten into this mode of trying to. Sometimes it's better to leave it to the imagination. But if you're going to make a good story, make a good, exciting story. This was boring. Alien Covenant is another bad movie. I got punished for going to see this. What it did wrong, Ridley Scott took fan criticism levied against Prometheus and applied it directly to Covenant, which was both a win and a mistake for different reasons. The decision to finally showcase the alien creature in a prequel was a welcome one, but it was done purely because of fan backlash instead of Scott's own creative decision making. Yeah, this wasn't a good movie. So I'm not going to read all that. But it was not good. I said most of the movies. Again, number 1 and number 2 were the best movies. I liked the second one, Aliens, the most. To me, that was the best one. Everything else was trash. A waste. But anyways, guys, I'm not going to drag it out because it's almost getting on 20 minutes. So, just drop a call. Let me know what you think. Which movie did you like or what you did not like? Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.